How to install Jenkins on Rocky Linux 8. Here's where we're starting today. We have a clean installation of Rocky Linux 8. Down in the description of this video is a link to a gist that has all the commands that I'm going to be running. Before I started recording, I ran one command, and I did a dnf-y update just to get the instance all the way up to the most recent version of Rocky Linux 8. Since we're installing Jenkins, we need to install a JVM. We can choose between either Java 11 or Java 17. In this example, I'm going to use Java 11, but if you want to try it out yourself, you can try either Java 11 or Java 17. Now in my case, I'm going to be using the Temurin distribution of Java. So I'm going out to adoptium.net and I'm looking for the installation instructions for CentOS, RHEL, or Fedora because Rocky Linux lives in that family. So the first step I need to do is I need to go ahead and create the repo for Adoptium. So I'm going to copy this, go back over to my shell, paste it in, and let's verify what the contents of this file is now. Now you'll also notice that I'm logged in as root. So let's go ahead and cat out that file. Now you'll notice here at the very top, we're pulling in the distribution name from Etsy OS release. So when we take a look at it here, we can see that that's pulled in as Rocky. Now let's go back over to our instructions, and it says, since we're using DNF, we're going to say DNF install Temurin 17 JDK. But in my case, I'm actually going to use Temurin 11. So we'll paste that in and change the 17 to 11. Now, again, it doesn't matter. You can choose to do 11 or 17. I'm just choosing to do 11 right now. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And now that the installation is completed, let's test it out by doing java-version. And we can see that we're running 11.0.17. So next up, we're ready to go ahead and install Jenkins. So we'll go back over to our browser, look at jenkins.io. In the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to click on download, and I'm going to choose between either stable or the weekly. In my case, I'm going to choose stable. So we'll go ahead and scroll down and click on CentOS, Fedora, Red Hat, much like what we did for our JVM installation. So in order to do this installation, we need to do a couple of things. Again, we need to go ahead and create a repository entry. We need to pull in the key for that, and then we will go ahead and do our installation for Jenkins. Now you notice here it's calling out that we need to do Java 11 OpenJDK and font config. This is for in the case where you have not installed a version of the JVM. Since we've already done that and we chose the Temurin 11 version, we can ignore that line. So first up, let's go ahead and do our wget for the repository. So we'll paste this in here. Let's go ahead and cat that out just to see what it looks like. Etsy yum repos d Jenkins. And we can see it's Jenkins stable. We're pointing at the Red Hat stable base URL. Everything looks fine there. Let's go ahead and import our key for that repository. And now at this point, let's type clear. We're ready to go ahead and do a DNF. I'm going to go ahead and say -y because I'm only going to be installing this single package. Install Jenkins and hit enter. And now our installation for Jenkins has completed. So let's check and see if the Jenkins process is running. So we'll type systemctl --full status Jenkins. And what we can see here is that although it's loaded, it's not active yet, which is fine because we actually want to make some changes to our configuration. So let's go ahead and quit out of this. Let's type systemctl edit Jenkins. And we're going to be presented with a blank page. If I wanted to see all of the different values that I can choose to enter into this file, I could write instead systemctl --full edit Jenkins. And that would give me all the different options that I would have available for me, and then I could pull the things in that I wanted into this file. Now I've already created these ahead of time, so I'm just going to paste them in. So I'll type in insert and paste this in. So I have two variables that I'm setting. First off, I'm setting Java ops, and secondly, I'm setting Jenkins ops. Now let's take a look at the two different variables here. Java ops is setting my -d parameters for my Java start line. So headless true, prefer IPv4 stack set to true. I'm setting a tempdir. This way I'm not dependent upon the Java IO tempdir that's available natively within my JVM. I want to go ahead and put a specific tempdir for my Jenkins process, and it's going to be ending up in varcache Jenkins temp. Now I'm going to need to create that directory, so we'll do that in just a moment. Finally, for Java ops, I'm setting both the time zones for user time zone and for the jelly time zone to America, New York. The second environment variable is setting the plugin root variable. Now for plugin root, what this is, and it's going to be at varcache Jenkins plugins, when the Jenkins controller starts up, the plugins that live in the Jenkins home directory /plugins are going to expand. And when those expand, think of it as unzipping a file, I don't want them to expand inside of my Jenkins home directory. I want them to expand in a different location. And by specifying plugin root, that is the location where those plugins are going to extract. Now, unlike the temp directory, the Jenkins process will go ahead and create that plugins directory for me. So let's go ahead and save this file. And then let's go ahead and run our status again. So let's go ahead and clear this out. Let's run our full status. And what you're going to see this time is now we see an override conf has been specified. If you were to rewind and take a look at the last time that we ran status, this override did not exist. This override is the values that we just pasted in when we did our systemctl edit Jenkins. So let's go ahead and quit out of this. We need to go ahead and create our temp dir. So we'll go ahead and say make dir -p var cache Jenkins temp. We also need to change the ownership of that temp directory because I'm root. When Jenkins starts up, it's going to be running as the Jenkins user. So I need to go ahead and change the ownership of temp to the Jenkins user. So I'll say chown-r Jenkins:/Jenkins, and I'm just going to stop at var cache and Jenkins and just reset everything under var cache Jenkins. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and take a look at all the variables that are being set for this Jenkins process, I can go ahead and run systemctl show Jenkins. And what we'll see here are all the different values that are being used by systemd to control Jenkins. And they just go on for quite a while. But if we take a look at this, we're going to see our Jenkins home variable, our Jenkins web root. If we scroll right, what we'll see is our Jenkins ops. This is what we just set a few moments ago to plugin root. So let's go ahead and quit out of this, and let's run one more command. So we're going to run systemd analyze verify jenkins.service. Now what you're going to see here in this case of Rocky Linux 8 is that we get one unknown L value of condition CPUs in section unit. Condition CPUs was added in a later version of systemd. Now this isn't going to affect our running of the process any, but I want you to be able to see that, okay, even though this is complaining that there is a problem with condition CPUs, it's not going to affect our startup. So let's go ahead and start our service. So we'll say systemctl start Jenkins, and then let's check the status of that process. So we'll say --full status Jenkins. We can see now that our process is active running, and we can see the log being rendered out underneath the process. Now, let's go ahead and scroll right just a little bit, and let's watch this 27,418 line. User bin Java, headless true, prefer IPv4 stack. All of this information is coming from that Java ops variable that we set. We could keep going right. We see the time zones. Now we have our -jar that's specifying the WAR file, web root, HTTP port, and then the plugin root that we specified in the Jenkins ops environment variable. So let's go ahead and quit out of this, and let's take a look at the log file. And the way that we do that is journal ctl-u Jenkins. And if we wanted to follow it, we can put a -f on there. And from here, we can see the log file for our Jenkins controller. Now, it went ahead and put us all the way down at the bottom of the file. If I wanted to go ahead and look at this, I'm going to do a Control-C. Let's take the F off of it. And now it dropped us in at the top. And then I can forward or back by using the F or the B keys. Now, this Jenkins controller hasn't been set up yet, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to copy this initial password from my log. Let's go back over to the browser, type in Jenkins 8080. We'll paste this password in, click on Install Suggested Plugins. Let's go ahead and create our first admin user. And from here, we'll click on Save and Continue. We'll click on Save and Finish. Click on Start Using Jenkins. And now we're ready to go ahead and start creating jobs on our new Jenkins controller. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on Twitter at CloudBees. If this video was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to CloudBees TV yet, why not? Take a moment, click on that subscribe button, and then ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime there's new content available on CloudBees TV. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.